tell the court who you are?
My name's Bennett.
How are you involved in today's case?
Well, I live on the corner of Canyon Road, right before it curves off, and I saw the accident happen.
What were you doing when you saw the accident happen?
I was on my porch painting. It's something I like to do on the weekends. It's pretty relaxing. I was there on my porch with my dog, Peaches, probably from 11 p.m. up until the time of the accident.
What was the weather like that night?
There was a storm coming in. That's why I was painting that night. Love painting storms, forests. It's real pretty. The storm came in probably a little bit before midnight.
Could you tell us about Canyon Road?
Sure. From town, it's a pretty straight, flat road. But then it curves off to the left a bit. That's where my house is. It's on a hill and it overlooks the entire curve. And that's pretty much Canyon Road.
On that road, you saw an accident. Could you tell us about it?
Sure. When the rain really started picking up, I saw a car zoom down Canyon Road, going real fast, and that's when I yelled at the car to slow down. And of course, the car couldn't hear me in the middle of the storm. But then it started going around the curve. The car kind of fishtailed a bit around the right, and then jerked to the left, and that's when the car spun, ran to a telephone pole, and then wrapped the car around a tree.
What did you do when you saw the accident?
I called the police. Had to get someone down there right away, and then I went down myself to make sure everyone was all right.
You went down to the accident, and what did you see?
I saw the car, and I saw some people were in it. I also saw the driver of the car pretty much pacing in circles, kind of holding her head a bit.
Was she saying anything?
She was. First talking to herself, saying, "Oh my gosh," and then she started saying something about a Jack and Ginger.
Objection, Your Honor, more prejudicial than probative.
Response? Your Honor, this is very probative. It goes to what the defendant was doing after she had the accident and exactly what she was doing right before the accident.
First of all, what's the testimony that you believe is substantially more prejudicial?
The testimony that Mr. Bennett said that Ms. Dawson was saying Jack and Ginger. Through this testimony, opposing counsel is trying to elicit that Ms. Dawson was in fact talking about alcoholic beverages after the accident.
And how is that substantially more prejudicial than it is probative?
Well, Your Honor, it's the jury's job in today's trial to decide whether or not, in fact, the defendant was intoxicated. If they're allowed to hear this testimony, they'll be severely prejudiced against my client.
Response?
Your Honor, I'm not asking about alcoholic drinks. I'm simply asking what the defendant was talking about or what she was saying at the time of the accident. I've mentioned nothing about alcoholic drinks.
Will you?
No, Your Honor.
Will the witness?
No, Your Honor.
And why is it relevant?
It's relevant because it goes to what the defendant was doing and talking about right after the accident and the state of mind of the witness, or excuse me, of the defendant.
Which is relevant to?
It's relevant to the recklessness of the defendant.
I'll give him a little leeway, but feel free to renew if you think he's gone too far. Overruled.
So, what was the defendant saying?
Just mentioning something about Jack and Ginger. I figured those were the two people in the car, so I went to go check on them right after she said something else.
Was Jack and Ginger in the car?
No, it wasn't Jack and Ginger, no.
Who was in the car?
Taylor Hobson. Her dad does some work around my property, and I recognized her immediately.
Was anyone else in the car?
Yeah, her best friend Vanessa was up in the front. She wasn't responding. I tried to shake her to see if she'd wake up. She wasn't moving.
What was the defendant doing while you were checking on Taylor and Vanessa?
I asked her to help, but she wasn't listening. She just kept pacing to herself, holding her head.
What happened after you saw Vanessa in the car?
Well, that's when the police arrived and the ambulance, and that's when the officer went to ask me some questions.
What did the officer ask you?
Mainly my observations, what I saw, the accident, and other things that the driver said.
When did you find out about Vanessa?
I know she died the next morning.
Past witness.
Cross-examination.